Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be immortal in a video game? Now that I'm reading it out loud, it does seem like a stupid way to intro the video, considering most people watching have most likely turned on God mode in a game before, but screw it, we'll run with it. What's up everyone, my name is Strife, and I hope to help you achieve that with this build that I've been using for PvE for quite a while now. It's a hatchet and lifestaff build, and abuses the lifestaff's insane focus scaling in combination with an amber gem. The AoE healing of the lifestaff combined with the CC immunity and lifesteal of the hatchet's berserk skill will literally make any PvE in the game feel like you've been playing on hard mode so far, and even in PvP, the healing of the lifestaff will make it so that you can literally face tank multiple people without dying. So without beating around the bush, let's get straight to the build. I'll be having a little cheat sheet down below in the description for the people that don't want to watch a long video like explaining everything, but I still appreciate if you do stick around and listen to me explain the build. Either way, we'll start off with your attributes. In my opinion, there are two ways you can allocate your stats. Either you pump all of your points into focus for damage and heal scaling and try to reach constitution breakpoints with your gear, which will make you a bit more glass cannony, or you pump points into focus until you hit the 200 point breakpoint, after which you try to reach the 100 points constitution breakpoint for the extra HP that you get from it. You want to make sure to hit that breakpoint, but after that, you can continue scaling focus. Preferred stats on your gear are obviously, as already stated, focus and then constitution. That out of the way, what armor class should you be in? You basically have two choices, medium armor or heavy armor. I think light armor is a huge bait, especially when it comes to PvE. In my opinion, overall best armor class is always medium. If you want to strike a good balance between grinding PvE and being able to PvP people if you are flagged, medium will do a lot better than the other two armor classes, due to increased defense over light armor and the ability to dodge 3 times before your stamina depletes. Since the heavy armor class doesn't begin until a weight of 23, you can mix and match your medium armor with heavy armor to gain more defense while staying in the medium class. This little image here can help you understand what the different armor pieces weigh in their respective class. As you can see on the right of the image, if you want to max out the medium armor class to its fullest, you would mix a heavy armor helmet and chest with medium armor gloves and boots and light armor pants. If you really want to play light armor instead, then you can get the most out of it by swapping out your chest for a medium chest. Shout out to Sways for the image that was used here, and if you are only focused on grinding, meaning pulling huge groups of mobs, I would recommend just going full heavy armor. You'll be face tanking the groups anyways, and the insane amount of defense you get from heavy armor will help you a lot in staying alive. On the weapon side, a very important component of this build is using the socket in your hatchet. Since you are dumping all of your points in focus, your hatchet has 0 natural damage scaling to make it useful. This is where an amber gem comes in, and it makes it so that your hatchet will start scaling off of focus. Furthermore, due to the lowest tier of amber gem, the flawed cut amber gem, being bugged and giving the highest damage boost out of all the tiers, it is very affordable to get the most out of your hatchet. Even though this is a fairly considerable damage loss over a normal hatchet build, you trade that damage for immortality with your heals. With all of that being said, let's get into the weapon skills. So let's start off with the hatchet. The first skill we'll be taking is the most important one in the build, Berserk. After that, we'll be getting On the Hunt, which is Berserk's movement speed buff, followed by getting our second skill, Raging Torrent. After Raging Torrent, we will strictly follow Berserk's tree, grabbing the lifesteal on point 4 and our CC immunity on point 6. This will make pulling large amounts of mobs actually doable because we will ignore being staggered by their attacks. Following that, we finally get our third skill, Pharaoh Rush, which is a gap closer. Points 8 and 9 will be fortifying strikes and against all odds, one giving us fortify and the other increasing our damage by 10% for every mob within 5 meters of our character. You can imagine that while pulling large amounts of mobs, this is a huge damage increase. After that, we grab our first Raging Torrent buff, which gives us haste on use, and then we put our 11th point into Defy Death for some safety. Points 12, 13, and 14 all go into passives that give us some damage increases, while point 15 makes it so that we do 30% more damage after our heavy attacks. You honestly could skill this one before the other 3 increases, because I think the math plays out in a way that makes it better damage in general, but the reason I skill it late is because I'd rather just spam left click than to incorporate heavy attacks and wasting CC immunity time from Berserk. Our 16th point will go into the throwing tree, which is critical throw. It gives us a global 5% crit rate bonus, which is an easy pick. Finally, point 17 goes into finishing Raging Torrent's tree. Point 18 goes into Desperate Refresh, which reduces our cooldowns by 2% every time we hit an enemy while being below 30% HP. And lastly, we finish off by completing Feral Rush's tree, which roots your enemies if you hit them in the back with Feral Rush. This has limited use while using it versus grouped up mobs, but it can be good for PvP if you are flagged while grinding, or to root your enemies and buy yourself some time to heal yourself with your lifestaff if things go wrong. And now, let's talk about our God mode. Our lifestaff. Our first point will go into Absolved, which makes it so that our auto attacks no longer require mana. After that, we'll be getting our first AoE heal, which is Sacred Ground. Following that, we move to the other side of the tree and take Bend Light, which gives us 20% more healing after a dodge. This is important to remember because this passive doesn't have an eternal cooldown. You can have this healing buff up at all times. Hey guys, post voiceover Strife here. I need to correct what I just said, since while it is true that the dodge doesn't have an internal cooldown for the 20% healing, the healing only applies while you have your lifestaff out. So use this to kite around mobs and to get some extra healing in your Berserk downtime. With that being said, back to the main program. Fourth point will go into Beacon. I feel like you can interchange these 2 orders. I just prefer to get Absolved first, but since you get both of these skills so early on, you won't be missing out on the quality of life for too long. After that, we pick our last skill, which is Light's Embrace. This skill is basically your get out of jail free card because it heals bonkers amounts and it's only on a 4-second cooldown. After that, we'll be following Beacon's tree since Beacon will be the AoE that keeps us alive the most, followed by putting our 9th point into Protector Strength, which gives us 10% more healing if we have a buff on us, which should be at all times. Points 10 and 11 go into buffing up Sacred Ground, which will give us 100% more stamina and mana regen, and makes it so that we receive 50% more healing from all sources while standing in Sacred Ground. After that, we'll grab Protector's Touch, which will give us Fortify buff every time we auto attack, followed by Glowing Focus and Balance, which are both good utility, giving us 20% longer buff duration and haste if we get hit under 50% HP. Points 15, 16, and 17 will be finishing out Light's Embrace's tree and getting us Magnify. With these points, we're getting stamina when we heal with Light's Embrace, 1% of our max mana for every buff on an ally when we heal them, and a 2-second buff extension on every lifestaff buff after a Light's Embrace. Our final 2 points will be Revitalize and Intensify, the first giving us a 5% reduction in cooldowns every time we hit a light attack, and the latter giving us a 10% increased healing buff for 10 seconds after every lifestaff heavy attack, which can stack up to 3 times. This passive is insane, but the reason I pick it so late is because I very rarely want to run away and swap to my lifestaff to charge up a heavy attack while in a group of mobs, but you can take the skill a bit earlier if you want to be more active in your weapon swapping. Gameplay on this build is quite simple. For your hatchet, you basically just use your heavy attack once you unlock Relentless Fury and cancel the animation lock with Raging Torrent afterwards. Other than that, you're literally just left clicking the mobs while in Berserk. With your lifestaff, you're aiming to put Beacon on one of the mobs in the group you're fighting so that the AoE always chases you, and putting down Sacred Ground wherever you decide to kill the group you pulled. Light's Embrace is your panic button, and something you use while you're kiting mobs in case you didn't kill them in your first Berserk plus Beacon rotation. And that's about it. If you liked the video, make sure to give my other videos a watch, for example my rant about how broken the lifestaff is, and if there are any questions or you would like to suggest the topic of the next video, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and if you enjoy my content, leave a like for the algorithm and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, until next time, peace.